Welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill your friends and get your gaming goodness every Monday. But this episode's coming out on Tuesday because of something we'll get to in a moment. My name's Dylan Blight. Joining me on the couch this week, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, good to have you back. Excited.
Good. That's great to hear. Also here, Ciaran Marchant.
Wait, Dylan was gone?
Yeah, last week.
I didn't notice. So, okay.
No, you definitely didn't notice when you made like the first 5 minutes of the show all about jokes.
What? That was
jokes? No, that was pretty sure it was a clear explanation as to why you weren't here.
Yeah, we were just letting them know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. I wasn't here. Good job, everyone. Today on the show, we have a bunch of reviews, which we'll be getting into in a moment, including Doom Eternal, Persona 5 Royal, Resident Evil 3 Remake, holy moly, and then we'll be discussing some of the news in the past week, including that random Nintendo Direct that was just like, hey, here. Like, we won't announce it.
Here, stop your bitching.
Yeah, like, you get, see y'all complaining here, have a Nintendo Direct. Still makes me laugh every time. Anyway, let's get into the big thing, obviously. Resident Evil 3 Remake. Ciaran, as of recording, haven't locked in the review.
Haven't locked it in yet, but
it will be up by time this post, Tuesday, which is why we're having to delay the episode today. But what are your thoughts? Tell us about Resident Evil 3 Remake.
So Resident Evil 3 Remake continues on this trend. They started with the Resident Evil 2 Remake of completely refleshing and rebuilding a really beloved game by a lot of people. Resident Evil 3 is the remake super interesting because I think 3 sits in this nice little kind of middle section where it's starting to go towards that actiony adventure side of, not action adventure, but action side that is Resident Evil 4, but still at points maintaining the suspenseful nature of Resident Evil 2 throughout it. I think for this game's a lot more straightforward and open compared to Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2, there can be a lot of back and forth running across the police department. You've got a whole lot of different keys to use and go into, where this one's a lot more segmented. This is a transitional journey where there is obvious stages ranging from like the open streets of Raccoon City to the internal, more tight spaces of the hospital. I've really enjoyed it. It definitely is more action-based than anything, and I don't think the developers really do a great job of explaining everything with the game. They introduced a new role system that they initially released a trailer or a snippet about a little while ago, where you've got both the playable characters, Jill and Carlos, both have like a role ability like if you time it correctly, you get like a special slow-mo animation that you roll past the zombie perfectly. Or if you're Carlos, you just punch
roll.
him.
I kept thinking he was talking about R-O-L-E, like, they've got
roll. No, like a combat roll. Like a
combat roll, slow motion. Right, yes.
Yeah, like a combat roll, or if you're Carlos, if you time it perfectly, you just punch whatever you're rolling past square in the middle of the chest and it like flies backwards. It's powerful. But it never, other than telling you that is a feature, it doesn't actually explain that the perfect roll is something you can do. It's just about timing and you get it. I think this game is very much about learning, especially after finishing the first playthrough. There is a lot to go back and do. There is like a little shop you can buy added extras for you can buy different guns or different power-ups and stat boosts for your characters to play through on the harder difficulties. I think overall it's a really fun game, and it meets that line of suspensefulness and me wanting to self-isolate in safe rooms during certain sections of the game, to then also having these more open and action-orientated moments. Nemesis is fantastic throughout the entire game. I think he builds on Mr. X. I don't think he's as... Nemesis for me in this game isn't as common a threat. Isn't as... Well, scary is one... scary, yes or no. But I think Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 was more... He's a more lingering threat. Like, there's just periods of the game where you can randomly walk into that douchebag, or he can randomly turn up and you're like, fucking hell. Whereas Nemesis kind of appears more narratively throughout it. There's
action set piece chase stuff and stuff.
Yeah, like you'd get to a certain section and be like, okay, now we're moving on to Nemesis, and now we're now we're moving forward. And it's like, okay, cool, whatever. He's more used narratively than Mr. X just shows up to fuck your day. There's definite moments in the game where I had moments of, I really hope Nemesis isn't showing up right now, and then he showed up 2 seconds later and I cried. This game does a lot more showing of the different varieties of zombies very quickly. I think in Resident Evil 2, you spent a decent amount of time just fighting normal zombies. And Resident Evil 3 does this thing that really you can't be too prepared in any situation. Even if you walk past a dead body in any room, at some point that dead body's getting up at some point and trying to kill you. And
that's the same as 2 though. Walk into a room like, oh, that's a dead body. Shoot it in the head.
Well, shoot it in the head, but this time, even shooting in the head isn't preemptively fixing the problem. Like, there was multiple times where, like, there's one room early on where there's a dead body, and I swear I shot it or stabbed it in the head a couple times, and on my 4th or 5th pass through that room, that got up and started attacking me, and I was like, okay, sure. So it does feel like you never know. Dead body. Yeah, it's you never know exactly what's dead. The only time you really know if one of the zombies aren't going to get back up is if its head explodes. It's the traditional head explodes; it can't get back up. But there's a nice variety. The game there are several points in this game where I died multiple times just because of either there was definitely one point where I didn't preserve ammo well enough, so I was having to do this like, all right, I'm going to run through here, I'm going to toss this grenade, hopefully this grenade kills these 2 creatures, I'm then going to grab what I need and bail really quickly. And because I kept dying to that section, so after a couple of deaths, it comes up with would you like to play in assisted mode? And I'm like, no, and it just kept it would systematically do that even when I was like 4 or 5 hours into the game. After a couple deaths, it still does the assisted mode request, and assisted mode is for people who want to experience the story of the game but want it a bit easier. There is aim assist on it. You start with a machine gun, like an assault rifle, from the very start of the game. The enemies are easier to kill. You regen health when you're on critical. So it does make the experience.
It's the story mode.
It's the story mode where you just want to blow your way through whatever. This game, and I need to go back and kind of read over, before I do my review properly, I need to read over what the actual story was for Resident Evil 3 because my memory for Resident Evil 3 was not as good as it is for Resident Evil 2.
I was about to say, do you know if they've added stuff?
Well, that's what I need to double check because this is written really well where it's almost written like
parallel to 2?
Parallel with 2, because it is happening at the same time as 2.
Yeah. Well, the original did have, like, they made it obvious. They did, like, sort of loop in events in the original and, like, tie stuff in somewhat, but...
There is sections of the game that directly interlink with Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, I think that's the same from the original.
Yes, and I need to double check that because I really liked it. There is definitely, it's very nice. And even just narratively, there's little answers that are given that you're probably not given in Resident Evil 2. Probably not to questions you've ever asked, but it just explains exactly what's going on and what's happening. I think both Jill and Carlos are both pretty great. It does a really cool thing, and it only does it a couple times throughout the game where it goes into a first-person view. And tells a part of the story through a first-person view.
Opening of the game, surely.
The opening of the game, and then there's a bit later on in the game, and it's just very interesting to see where Resident Evil and where the devs have really learnt from Resident Evil 7, and how they're incorporating that knowledge into the remakes of these and making them new experiences for people. There is a very a large, wide variety of creatures and monsters in this game. Some of them only show up for a small period of time, which I'm very grateful for because they range from very easy to deal with to fuck my life, please don't show up right now. There's really good replayability to this game. I think I definitely missed one gun. And I didn't realize I missed one gun until later on in when I started picking up ammo for this gun, and I just couldn't find it. I think.
How long is it?
About 6 hours. About
6 hours. So that's shorter than the second one, right?
It's a lot shorter than the second one. I think, especially with the second one, there's a lot more exploration and puzzles. I don't think there's as many puzzles that are hard or require that much collecting. There is a couple sections of the game where it requires you to run back and forth through it. There are sections where I just completely miss stuff because I forgot I had an item in my inventory. Inventory management is still just as important as it has been in the second one, especially. And I think it does a good job of recreating it. I don't think it's, the loading screens after a while get a little bit frustrating when, for boss fights, because of the save system, if you die in the boss fight, you then have to reload at your save. It's very much like that Dark Souls method where you have to rerun through everything and watch your cutscene or skip the cutscene. And after a boss fight that has a couple moments of those, it can be a little bit frustrating, a little bit annoying to keep having to do it and not just be like, can you just dump me straight back in this boss fight? The save rooms are really sporadic. I used every single save slot possible. And then was resaving over a lot of stuff. I think there's like 25 save slots or something. So
fucking hell.
Yeah, I was like,
we're playing it like it's an RPG.
It was like I was resaving. No, because there was a couple of times where I actually had to load earlier saves
because you fucked yourself.
Because I fucked myself with my ammo management, or I fucked myself with doing something, and I was like, no, I'm gonna go back. Because there's one part where it gives you specific healing tools, like herbs, for the next section, and it's like vital that you have these herbs on you before you start the section. And I had burnt through them too early, and I was like, okay, I need to change up. I think the array of guns is very good. I think for me, if there's one particular gun, if you miss it, I think the game gets incredibly a lot harder to play for the rest of the game. If you were to miss it,
shotgun.
No.
Is it a spoiler to say what the gun is?
No, I don't think so. No, reading through it, no. So there's a grenade launcher, and you get it like midway through if you find it in the right spot. And it just makes stuff a lot easier. There was some stuff that I remember watching in the trailer and being like, fuck, that's going to be a pain in the ass to kill. And then with the grenade launcher, it just made it a lot simpler to get. So I can imagine in games where, and this is very much designed to speedrun this game. I think there is
probably a trophy.
There's probably a trophy for it that is going to be part of it. So, yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. I think it was overall really good. It's very.
Do you know what your final score would be yet, or no?
I'm falling somewhere between an 8 and a 9. I'm just trying to think whereabout. Well, like for me, it kind of crutches on. How much meat was there in this game? Because I think the runtime overall did disappoint me a little bit, and I need to just compare it to what the original was. Because
the original was short as well. I think people are going to end up. I haven't played it obviously, but I think people are going to end up disappointed with this one after 2 because it's a remake of 3, and 3 when it originally was made very quickly after 2. As a same engines, a lot of this sort of things. Well, it feels bad to call it a cash-in, but it was like, well, it was kind of a spin-off game without being a spin-off.
Yes.
Like it could have been Resident Evil 2.5, but it was Resident Evil 3. And in a lot of ways, it still is just 2.5 because as we're talking about, it like ties into certain events and whatever else. Like it wasn't this brand new adventure. It was like, here's another thing that was happening at the same time, and like here's some new characters. But they made it in like a year because it was just reusing a lot of stuff and whatever else. And that's probably why they could make it so fast. So I feel like people were going to feel the same about this one as they did about 3 when it originally came out, which is like,
exactly.
It's Resident Evil. It's cool, but it isn't as good as 2. Like that.
It's exactly. And I think there is a lot of 2 had a lot of more exploration, a lot of more running around, running back and forth to places, almost a lot Metroidvania style. Like there was, you have a key. Remember, all in this one was maybe running through areas as a different character. Like if you run through an area as Carlos, you can see sections that you wouldn't be able to get to as Carlos, but if you go back as Jill, you can get
How do you switch characters?
It's just narratively through moments of.
So there's no reason to do this game like 2 where you're like, oh, I play through my.
No, there's not multiple playthroughs of this game. Yeah. It's literally the one narrative playthrough of you play through a section of Jill and then it switches or it goes either way. Yeah. I was surprised by the amount of Carlos in this game. Like there's a lot. I'd almost say I spent more time playing as Carlos than I did playing as Jill.
Is Carlos in the movies?
Well, this is what confused me because this is why my memory of 3 is always super hazy because 2 has a special place in my heart for nostalgic reasons. 3 got like kind of weirdly transitioned into a movie because Nemesis is in one of the movies and it changed the Nemesis storyline and everything. I think it's Resident Evil, like it's like the second movie if I remember off the top of my head. But don't go back and watch those people. Don't do it. That's a terrible and garbage.
He was in the movies, just as a side note. He was say the actor's name here. Characters Carlos's character, blah blah blah. No, it doesn't. I can't find the actor's name. Anyway, I recognize his face. Anyway, yeah, Carlos was in the movies, but he was so forgettable that I forgot, and also I can't remember anything about him from 3 when I played it back in the day either. So that's all standout. Anyway, look for Ciaran's review of Resident Evil 3 Remake in the description of this or at explosionnetwork.com. All right, so Doom Eternal. The reason I wasn't, one of the many reasons I wasn't here last week, but it literally was what I was playing while you were recording. It is directly the reason I wasn't here, I guess. I said in my review, I said Doom Eternal is easily one of this generation's best first-person shooters as it rips and tears its way to outdo the first game in every way possible. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. I really loved it. I think it is... I've talked about on here like a year ago or whatever about how I tried playing Doom 2016 when it released and I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand this game. And I stopped playing it and I like traded away my copy on PS3 or whatever. And then I went back early last year when this one got announced or whatever, and it's Doom suddenly clicked for me. I'm like, oh, I get it now. This is cool. So going into this one, I was way more excited. It was everything I wanted plus more. They just literally just double up on all the systems. They're like gory kills are now more gorier. When you are shooting enemies now, it will literally like start having their bodies like kind of fragment and like parts will start falling off and like so everything's just more gorier, more tense, more heavy metal. Man, fuck yeah! Your music's louder. They play up the Doomslayer's storyline and how like badass he is even more. They've made his biceps in this game way bigger, and that seems like a thing to point out. But like they literally make a point of being like, "This dude's fucking tough, man!" Like, and it also has one of the best like get you fucking pumped as video game intros I think I've played in quite some time. Like it just like starts with because the other thing with this game is. Spoilers for the end of 2016. 2016 Doom ends with this character like taking this laser sword thing off him and like walking off and then sending the Doomslayer off into an unknown location. This game starts, Doomslayer's just in this floating like orbital space station that he's got to himself and you're like, how'd he get here? And the game's like, don't fucking matter. Don't ask questions. Who cares? Like, forget what happened. It's fine. We'll get to it anyway. But then the like game starts kidding as the intro music plays and whatever. It's like you hear this like guitar like it like starts building all this sort of stuff. It like shows Earth and you hear all these like radios playing. It's like, oh, Earth's getting taken over. Millions of people are dying. You hear like all these voices screaming, like women being like, help us, help us. Oh no, demons. Because hell's like overtaken Earth in this game. Because the first one was all set on Mars and shit. Mars and hell. This one you're on Earth. And then like zooms into this space station and then like the credits start playing and it's like id Software and the music like starts getting louder. Doomslayer like picks up like and then right at the end as music starts getting louder it's like loads of shotgun and then goes to like the title screen. It's fucking the most badass thing anyway. And then straight away it like shoots you through a fucking what do you call it, like Stargate portal type system that uses through there to get down to Earth. And as soon as you get in, they're like, nah, we're like building you up. Here's you got your fucking shotgun, go kill some people. And you're like straight away into the action. And they don't take like levels to give you all the stuff back that you had from the first game. So they're like, here's your shotgun. This shit can shoot grenade launchers now. Here's your fucking chainsaw. Here's how you start shooting the fuck out of people. And also, we're just going to make the game a lot harder this time. I got to the first like arena encounter and it took me like 5 goes. I was like, wow, I haven't played Doom in a while, but also this seems harder than the first encounter in the game should probably be. I've died fucking 5 times. I think once I got past it, I kind of got more into the Doom rhythm because the game definitely has a rhythm to it. And I think the other thing is like, I'm coming off playing Apex, Call of Duty, and whatever else as my first-person shooters I've been playing lately. And it took me a little bit to get into the like, no, don't stop. Don't stop and get behind cover. Stop. Yeah. No. And I had to get better into the thing of you just always constantly just circling and going around the the arena, and you constantly got to be like shooting up and moving and shooting people, then quickly go in. And I think the other reason I like Doom so much, and when it kind of helped click for me, is because I like Bloodborne so much. And the one thing I like about Bloodborne is that game is it rewards you for being aggressive, because one of the ways you can get health back in Bloodborne is if you attack enemies, you'll get health back. So, and even if an enemy's dying, if you go in and attack them as they're dying, you'll still be able to like swipe health off them. So the game's like, get in there and fucking attack people. Like if you're on low health, don't run away. You're on low health, get in there and kill people. And Doom's the same, where it's like you're pretty much constantly always on low health. I've played the game on normal difficulty. I can't imagine playing it on harder. It's just, I see people on Twitter being like, I played it on hard, and there's 2 difficulties above that. And hard, which is Ultra Nightmare, people on Twitter are like, this shit's fucking intense. I'm like, you can all have fun with that, not for me. But you're pretty much always on low health, and you'll just be like, oh, well, I have to get in there. So you have to like shoot some people until they get like stunned and they'll start flashing. And then you go in, do a glory kill, get health back for that. But the thing that this game improves and makes, it also means you have to like get used to it more so than the first one, is they've added a flamethrower, which wasn't in the first one. Because in the first game, it was glory people, that gives you health back. Use your chainsaw, that gives you ammo back. So you constantly had to be like sort of resource managing of how you take down enemies to make sure you're using them to get back whatever you need to be continuing on. In this one, same. Glory kill people gives you health. Chainsawing people will give you ammo. However, you now have the flamethrower, and if you light a bunch of enemies on fire and then kill, the damage you do to them while they're on fire will then drop armor for you. So now it comes a thing of, I had to like rework my brain to make sure that I was like, if I see a bunch of enemies, flamethrower them all first, shoot them a couple times, go in for the glory kill, because the glory kill still starts as damage. And then you'll be able to get health and armor, or like chainsaw them and then dropping ammo. But it becomes a really like, you've got to make sure you're keeping track of all the systems and ammo. It's really weird, because I'm like, Doom is kind of a weird resource management game where the resources are your ammo and health. Really badass. The one thing I do have to point out quickly though is that the Marauder, if anyone wants to look up the Marauder online,
I've heard that he's a douchebag.
He is one of the biggest dicks in video games in quite some time, and he is the reason I nearly switched the difficulty down to easy. So this game does a thing where it's like, hey, like here's the second boss fight. The first boss fight, it's literally like you go in, they're like, this boss is called the Doomslayer. It's a fucking thing we've created. It floats around on a laser fucking hovercraft thing. It's got a shield around its body. You have to use a certain weapon to be able to destroy the shield. Then you have to destroy his hovercraft thing. So he falls out. You do this big epic battle, verse 1 of the first boss. When you beat it, it drops you through to the floor and goes, here's 3 more of the boss you just beat. And you're like, well, this game's mean. This game's really mean. And you just kind of have to deal with it. And the Marauder, when you get to him, does this really cool cutscene where he like comes through and he like basically talks shit on the Doomslayer and whatever else. Because this game adds more story, but at the same time, it's still Doom. So the story is like, if you don't care about it, you can just ignore it. But anyway, he comes through and you have to fight him. He is the only enemy in the game that doesn't feel anything like a Doom enemy. And he's cool, but also the biggest dick, because he moves fast as fuck. He has a shield that you cannot shoot through or break or destroy of any of your weapons. He will send out a fire dog randomly that will chase you and like blow up and destroy you. And then he has a giant fucking axe, and he'll pretty much keep his shield up, and then he'll like dash at you and hit you with the axe and do a fuck ton of damage. And you've got to fight him like a Soulsborne enemy, weirdly, where right before he's about to dash, he'll remove his shield and his eyes will glow green to let you know that that's when you're supposed to counteract him. So that's when you have to shoot him to stun him and do all this sort of stuff. So I fight him for the first time. It took me nearly an hour. I die a fuck ton of times. I get down to the last one where I'm like, look, I want to beat this game. I want to be able to review it. I'm like, fuck it. If I can't beat him on my next try, I'm going to easy, because this is doing my head in. I managed to beat him, so I was like, oh my God, thank fuck for that. 2 levels later, he shows up amongst all the other normal enemies. So I'm fighting fucking all these other things, and out comes another one from behind me, just whacks me in the back. I'm like, this game is totally unfair and bullshit. And I was, for a hot second, I was like, I don't know if I can beat this game. But I think that's the other thing that's cool about the game is they introduce him as a boss fight to have you like learn how to fight him, and then they send him to you later, and you're like, you should know how to fight him now. You should be able to do him while taking on other enemies. And weirdly, even though it took me an hour to beat him the first time, I was then able to take him on more. I was like, cool, the game kind of trained you. Also, I've seen people on Twitter that worked out a way to cheese him now, which, boy, fuck, if I had known how to cheese him when I was playing it, I would have cheesed the fuck out of him and not given two shits about doing it. But no, Doom's great. I feel like if it's a certain style of shooter, I guess, is the way to describe it. But it's also just like headphones, turn that shit the fuck up, and just go absolutely man mode with that.
Just cancel your podcast recordings. Just really get fully enveloped in it.
It's so good. It's definitely like sitting on the top currently for when we get to Game of the Year. I'll be highly surprised if this doesn't get. It's not going to get Game of the Year because we got a bunch of other stuff that I expect to beat it, but it'll definitely be on a lot of people's lists because
it'll be the top first-person shooter.
Oh, for sure.
Get for first person shooter.
Yeah, it is fun. It's not when we're used to first person shooters at the moment where it's like, you know, Call of Duty, but there's like lots of story and all this other sort of stuff. This game's just literally like just fucking rip people in half, fucking blow them up, have fun. This is great. And also I played
rip and
on
tear,
PC,
as some people would say.
Yeah, rip and tear, as some would say. Yeah. So I played on PC as well. I just want to say it because, and I would suggest people play it on PC. It looks stunning. It actually looks ridiculously good considering the sort of game. Like the first one was, because it was all set on Mars, it was like just lots of reds and whatever. You're like, oh, we're on Mars. And then you go to hell later in the game, you're like, hell's red.
More
so
red.
I guess it's
More
like
red.
everything's fucking red. And there are sections of this game where it's like lots of red and whatever, but you, without spoilers, you go to other planets basically at some point. And some of those, they have like really weirdly beautiful vistas to look at and like architecture and whatever else. So that was all really cool to see. And I'm like, oh, this is surprising. I didn't expect to see this sort of stuff in the game, but here we are. So yeah, read my full review if you want. ExplosionNetwork.com, link below as well. Quickly, because I've talked about it on Plat, but I'll go over here. I did write, I got a review of Persona 5 Royal. I said Persona 5 Royal is the definitive way to play one of the most stylish, emotional, engaging RPGs of all time. I gave that 9.5 as well. Just chucking out these 9.5s out my fucking ass at the moment. Boom. What do you do? So that game I somehow put 100 hours into in like a week, which was sort of ridiculous. Obviously, I never played the original. Well, no. I played the original Persona 5. I never finished it. I got 3 dungeons or palaces in. I always say dungeons for whatever reason. I feel hardcore people. They're not dungeons, doing the palaces. Anyway, Royal is weirdly, it's like if you've played the first one, I feel like you would have to have loved it to have a reason to go back to this for the extra story content. But I feel like if you love the original, then the extra story content in this is definitely going to be worth it. But the problem is, although there are like they tie in little things throughout the entire run of the game, like they change stuff here, there, like they introduce these new characters, but you don't get too many crossover scenes of them with the original character. They kind of just keep this new Kasumi character off to the side and one of the new confidants off to the side. There's not like too much crossover. So that when you get the majority of the new content, the new story content comes at the end of the game. So you got to play like 80, 90 hours to get to the new stuff. And that's going to be the problem for a lot of people. However, for me, as someone who never finished it and was experiencing the majority of the core story for the first time paired with the new stuff, it made it quite interesting. And honestly, when I got to the end of the game and when I got to the end of where the original game ended, right? And then I see how they managed to extend the story and how they managed to do that. And then I go YouTube and I watch the original ending to be like, oh, how they, like, what exactly did they change here? I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I cannot picture like anything other than the ending they have in Royal. Because it's not just like, oh, here's an extra thing that doesn't have anything to do with the main story or anything else. Like, it is super connected. It makes heaps of sense. I think it adds heaps to all of the characters from the core game, and then all the new characters are great. Kasumi is a really, really great character, which I think when she first shows up, you're like, yeah, she's kind of cool or whatever. When you finally get to learn more about her, you're like, wow, she's actually one of the best characters in the game, probably. And then one of my other things that I loved about this one, and the reason I would say most people should play this over the original one, is they fixed all of the things I hated about the combat in the original one, which is that you would just run out of SP, which is your magic spell bar thing or whatever. You'd constantly run out of this in the fucking palaces, and which would cause me to have to leave to come back another day. And I hated that because in Persona 4 Golden, the one I played the most, I would just do all of the dungeons in that game in one go. Because you want to do them in one go, so then you have more days to spend with confidants and doing your learning and getting all your stats up. Because if you have to spend multiple days doing the dungeons, you're just wasting time. So I always want to do them in one day, and they used to kind of annoy me. In this game, they've added these extra items you can find in dungeons which restore your SP. They've added new ways to get SP items. They've added one of the new confidant character, this doctor that comes out to school. If you level him up, he helps max out your SP. So I feel like they were really aware of the fact that people would be, that's possibly a thing that was annoying people, and they fixed that. So that was really cool. And then they also fixed mementos, which was kind of boring in the original, in my opinion. Because it was just like, oh, RNG dungeon type thing. Come here and you can do random missions and you can like kind of level up. But then it was like, what am I, you'd find random items and battle enemies and whatever. That's cool. In this one, they've added this new character down there. It's a little kid. What? Well, to be fair, I don't know if he's actually a little kid because he lives in the fucking alternate, whatever. He lives in Mementos. Like, is this really a little kid? I don't know. Who's to say? Anyway, he's a little kid that drives around in like a little fucking toy car, and he's like, "Hey, I'm down here. I love eating flowers." And you're like, "That's weird, little kid." And he's like, "If you find me flowers in Mementos, you can trade that in for stuff, including SP items," which is what I used to do them all for. And then you can also find in Mementos now these stamps, these stars. So you get one at the end of every level, but then you'll also be able to find random ones if you fully explore each level. And then you can use those stars to adjust stats within Mementos. So you can put them into earning more XP or earning more items or earning more money. So I pretty much early game, as soon as I could go to Mementos, I went out of my way to get heaps of all the stamps I could, and then I maxed out the XP, so I was earning plus 200% of XP in Mementos, and that just meant that I spent like half an hour just farming there quickly, and then I just made the rest of the game easier and made me be able to do the palaces in one go without having to fuck around too much, and then I could spend more time on the stuff that matters, which is going on dates with girlfriends and whatever else. By the way, in case anyone wants to know, I ended up with that's who which Ash asked me off air or whatever the other week, and I explained that I just kind of fell into it, and he's like, I guess
you just fell into it.
Yeah, well, I didn't really realize I was picking the romantic choice at the time, and then it was like, oh, you're in a relationship with Arm now, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I wasn't disappointed, but
to be fair, I'm pretty sure the choice is very clear.
Yeah, maybe I wasn't maybe I wasn't like, fully awake. I don't know. Maybe I was just like zoned out, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. I like you too. And then it was like, you're dating her. I'm like, wow, I didn't mean that way. But no, I wasn't that annoyed because then I was like, you know what?
I can't believe they didn't add a breakup option in Royal.
Well, no, because I think you can, if you date multiple people, you can just. I feel like it could cause a breakup. Didn't.
It's like a polyamorous thing.
No, surely.
No, I've seen pictures like of the Valentine's Day, and all the girls show up at the same time.
That's terrible. Just making a harem of Persona 5 girls.
I stuck to Arm, and I made sure not to click any of the romantic choices for any of the other characters. So I was a good boy.
But if you had a choice,
I was originally going to purposely try and date Kasumi because she was the new character. That was my original plan. However, that fell through. So And I couldn't.
Did that fall through because you fell into Anna, or is that just because she's not as accessible because?
No, you could date her. It's obvious. It's just going to take you way longer. You won't. I don't think you don't get the possibility to date her to like way later in the game. Whereas you can form a relationship with a lot of the girls a lot earlier from the core game. So
it's good. Max out all your confidants early, and then you can plow through.
Plow through. Wow.
Plow through. Hey.
Go hardcore. Anyway, that's Persona 5 real review. Next thing,
can I mindly mention
whatever you want.
This is another week, another period of time where being a digital fanboy has fucked me. Everyone, just pointing this out here now.
To be fair, it's not actually out yet.
Yeah,
it's not actually out yet. But EB Games and JB were like, "Man, we could be closed next week. Let's just put it out."
Which does make sense.
I get the feeling that there's going to be a fair bit of that this coming couple of weeks.
It wasn't the only
Final
game.
Fantasy VII Remake is out in the wild, apparently.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so. People are just not going to get their physical copies of it. It's going to suck.
No, they're getting physical copies.
It's leaked in Europe or whatever, so that's interesting times. But yeah, Persona released early, and then they released a bunch of other games early. I can't remember what else. I think like Dirt 2 and
nothing memorable.
Nothing memorable, but there was a bunch of games that EB was like, we may be closed.
Here you go.
So, have all the games, including Persona 5. Yeah, sure. It annoyed me for a hot second because I was like, I was trying to get this out before I was trying to get my review done before release. God damn it. Anyway, the other thing I've been playing is Control's DLC expansion. Its first expansion called The Foundation. I'll have a review up by the time this is done. I only finished it right before we started recording, so it is. If anyone's running at lengths, because I feel like that's one of the things people wonder the most about when it comes to expansions and DLC all the time. Like, is it worth the money? Like, how many hours do I get out of it? I would say if you're focusing solely on the quote-unquote main story, and I say that only because if you play Control, you know that the main story isn't really where a lot of the really interesting stuff ever lies. But if that's all you care about, beating that part of it, you're probably going to look at like 2 to 3 hours, probably, I guess, if you're rushing it for that. If you're doing everything, all the extra stuff, you're probably going to get 5 to 6 hours out of it, which I think is a decent, like a good amount of time for a extra expansion DLC add-on. It has, so you have this main mission where, before I say that, it's hard to say stuff about spoilers. I'm trying not to spoil stuff, but wholly when I write my review, I'm going to put a warning at the top saying that this contains spoilers, because you can't play the DLC unless you've beat the game.
Unless you beat the game, yeah.
Yeah, so, and that obviously means there's lots of stuff they talk about that's to do with the main game. And I appreciate the fuck about the small details that Remedy went through to add stuff into this, because if you go find... No, surely you talked about it last week. It's not a spoiler. Fuck it. The game's been out long enough.
I talked about it a lot last week. So
yeah, I feel like you spoiled enough, so I can spoil this whole thing. But if you go talk to Dylan, so Jesse's brother, right? If you go talk to him in this, he's grown a beard. And they've updated his character model solely to show that time has passed and stuff.
Because he was in a coma by the end of the game. So he's awake now. Okay.
He's just sitting there. He's the same place if you go find if you know where he is. But they've updated his character model even though he's not in the DLC at all. Like it's nothing to do with him. But they've gone to such little detail to be like, yeah, we'll update this, we'll update. And if you look around the main area of the main game, you can actually find new collectibles and files that also people are talking about, like Jessie and what she's done and all this sort of stuff. So they've added all this little stuff that isn't even part of the DLC, because I was like, wow, I appreciate this small detail to upkeeping the storytelling we got here. But the actual Foundation DLC, you have to go, there's this area where you only go once in the game when you're chasing what's his name? Aki, the caretaker? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You go once this really weird place with him. This fucking
Is this the place
zone.
with the thing, the conveyor thing?
Yes.
really annoying thing that happened, right? Just minor anecdotal thing. I accidentally jumped off that the first time I rode it.
You have to press
and you
square,
have to
wait for it to come.
redo. So I had to redo the whole thing again. And that's a very long. It's a very long.
It's a very long conveyor belt.
Carriage ride.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fucking ages.
Yes. So you have to go. Weirdly, the game sends you back there and to this like statue portal thing, or basically whatever, and that transports you to this new area, the foundations, like the deep area of the game. And what's happening here is the astral plane is crossing over and merging with the real world in weird ways, and Jesse's trying to put a stop for it. And that's the main thing, I guess. But so you get new enemies, really aggressive dudes with fucking pickaxes who'll like run in your face, and if you try and like hover above them to be like, get the fuck out of here, they'll throw your pickaxes at you and like take half your health out. And also I had the thing with the first half an hour of this where I was like, I haven't played Control for a while. How the fuck do I play this? And I was forgetting how to, to do everything. And I like died several times because I'm like, what are the controls? I forget. What are the controls and Control? I don't know how to play it. So I play for the main thing. The main thing is kind of cool, but not exciting. The best parts are the side missions, once again. But I feel like that's where I got the most interest out of the main game anyway. There's two new, what do you call them? Objects. Objects of power, whatever they're called. There's two of those to find in like side missions. One of them is really cool boss fight, although it took me like nearly 10 tries, I think. And it did, of course, Control does that really annoying thing where it's like, oh, you died, you spawn back at the thing. Okay, run down here, get in this elevator, go down here, restart the boss fight. And that was kind of making it more tedious than it probably should have been. You get 2 new powers in the DLC. That's, although none of them will be usable outside of this DLC. It's not like you lose the powers, but what you use them to
just
interact
have no purpose. Yeah. Until the next DLC when they continue to add stuff.
They could continue, yeah. The stuff it does with the board, because a lot of this DLC is about diving more into like who the board are and what they are and whatever else. That's really interesting. And they basically, once again, like when you finish the main Control game where it's just sort of like the game's over, but it doesn't feel like it's over because it's
definitely
it's
not. There's so many questions.
Yeah, this DLC ends the same, and you know the DLC is over, the main part's over, but you can still go talk to characters, and they're still talking like there's more story to come, and that's because, as far as Remedy is concerned, this is just, it's expansion 1, we're doing another one, we'll do more, we'll do a sequel. Like, you can tell they're playing the long haul of this game, they're slowly teasing stuff, but all the stuff with the board in this DLC is really cool to see because Jessie in the main game, I really like Jessie as a character, but in that game, she's so focused on her one mission of find Dylan, like very confused, whatever else. Like she doesn't become a secure in what her role is going forward until the end of the game, right? So in this, it's the first time you're playing Jessie where she's like, I can't say without spoilers, so fuck it. This is the first time you're playing something with Jessie where she's like, I am the I'm forgetting her official
director.
Director.
The director.
It's like this is the first time we're playing as her, and she's like, "I'm the director."
I don't think it's that much of a spoiler because it's like it happens in like the first like 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah, but even then you're like, "Oh, is this real or whatever?" But it's not until the end of the game where she kind of accepts her role. And she's like,
as a character,
correct. And she's like, "I am the director." But that means in this DLC, one thing that stands out is that whenever she's having these internal monologues that they continue to do, or she's talking to what's the fuck in her head?
Pope? Polaris today.
Polaris, yeah, whenever she's talking to him and all these other sort of things. She's not like, oh, I got to save my brother or, oh, I got to put a stop to this or whatever. She's literally talking from a directorial position. She's like, oh, as the person in charge, I've got to do this. I've got to do this. And then the board will start like pissing her off. And she's like, well, fuck the board. Like, I got to do what's best for the company or like all this, basic stuff. And that really stands out because that is very different to how Jessie talks throughout the entirety of the first game. So that was from her point of view as a character, I really enjoyed that because I like Jessie. I like the character. So
I find because it's interesting that they're carrying on with that, especially because there was a conversation I had with a couple of like the main characters at the end of the game when I finished it that kind of really impressed me with the subtle story arc for Jessie. That like when it was a sit down mini, it was like, right, this is what we need to do to fix this shit. Like this is what. We're going to do this. You're this now. I'm promoting you to this. You're doing this. We're getting this done. Like it was very much like she was quote unquote no pun intended, she was in control. She was.
She does a lot of that, but it was always like switching people to that works for her to go forward within the main control thing.
Yeah.
You know, like it was always on a mission. Whereas this time it's not like she's on a mission to do anything other than put a stop to what her job entails as director of the B's, whatever it's called. My control bureau of what? Yeah, but what's the you know, like the FBI, the whatever their the little thing is called. Anyway, so it's after playing all this, I'm really more excited for expansion 2, the Alan Wake one, because I'm like, how's this all going to work? Is Jesse like? Are they going to say that Alan Wake's like set at the same time, and then she's going to go there? And like, I don't know. I'm really intrigued to see how they put this forward, and I'm also really intrigued to see what they do with the board going forward, because they're more or less, without spoilers, like, and this is how you should feel playing the main game anyway. It's like the board is always this figure. Who the fuck are they? What are they? Are they good? Are they bad? They don't seem like they're good. They seem like they're very neutral. Yes. This DLC more than anything is like, the board are probably dicks and they're probably going to be bad guys in like the sequel or something eventually. Like this game's just keeps pushing that narrative forward more. Anyway, you can get the I can't remember how much is to buy separately, but the season pass or whatever, which gives you this plus the second one. I think it's like $40 or like 35, 40 bucks or whatever.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, this plus the other one, if this is this long, and then the second one's about as long or potentially longer. So I think it's
plus all
doing.
The additional content they're adding and stuff like that.
Yeah, the free ones and stuff anyway. Yeah, because the free update for this added a new shield bash power, so that's a cool thing. I put up a review for those who I put up a preview for those who remain. It's this little horror game that's coming out in a couple months' time. I think it's one for horror fans to have their eyes on, although I wasn't particularly blown away by it. It's only got to play half an hour of it, and it's this thing where this dude, it starts with this clip of this dude, he's like sitting in his room or whatever, he's like looking over his phone, his messages, and he's drinking a lot, and he's contemplating suicide. So it's a dark start to the game. And it's all because he's got a mistress, and he's like feeling this deep sense of guilt because he's got a family and all this sort of stuff. So that's the narrative set up for the game. And then the game starts where you go to this hotel, you go to the hotel room. His intentions are to break up with her, to put an end to this. However, when he gets into the hotel room, no one's there, can't find his girlfriend, and then so he hears his car take off, and you see it like speed down the highway, and then you kind of go chasing after it, and then you start bumping into weird and spooky shit. So you have these like figures that are just standing on like the side of the road, these like ghostly figures, and they're just staring at you, just like beady eye little fucks. They don't move, they don't do anything, they won't attack you. If you walk up to them, you will die if you walk into them, but they will not move and attack you, because you discover that light is what stops them. So the lights like start going out in this highway early in the game, and you like kind of run to this generator and you turn it back on, and it stops them, and that's like, oh, lights stop them. A little bit further in the game, you explore this house where it's like, oh, I can't walk into the lounge room because I'll die because there's one of those figures in there. But then if you find the light switch to turn on the lounge light, you can walk in there. So it introduces you slowly to make sure that you always have fucking lights. When the last part of the demo I did basically introduced the puzzle structure, I guess, for the game going forward, which is that I called it in my preview the upside down, because it just reminded me of Stranger Things, where I was like, I walked up to this car, and for whatever reason, the game it's like, oh, I can't interact with the car. It feels like there's something surrounding it, but there's nothing surrounding it. And then all of a sudden, this like big blue door, like this beam of light appears from a magical door from behind you, and you're like, well, that's fucking weird, but I'll go through it because that seems like a normal thing. And I head through the door, and it takes you to like this very upside downy version of like, seems Stranger Things inspired as fuck version of. So you're exactly where you are outside this gas station. There's cars there, but now you can see it's covered in like vines, and you can find this object and you can destroy the vines. And then when you travel back to the real world, all of a sudden you can interact with the car now. So it seems like the puzzle elements the full release will be a lot of that, where you have to travel between two planes and like change things on one end that'll affect the other end. I don't mind that. I think that's some games have done similar sorts of things where it makes for some cool and interesting puzzles. The one thing, the biggest problem I had with it was the voice acting wasn't great, and some of the lines in general just seemed really weird. Like this dude literally has all these ghostly figures appear around him. His car just got stolen, and he's like, "Oh man, that's really weird. Hey, I should I'll go explore." Like he doesn't sound scared. He doesn't like freak out or anything. I'm like, this is weird. There should be a bit more oomph to it. But either way, it's coming to PS4, PC, and all the rest of the things. I think. Switch late as well, Xbox, PC, everything. So that's coming out a couple months' time. So look for a review probably of that. You can read my preview, explosionarc.com, or link below. Let's jump into some news. Finally, what a big week of reviews and
it's like the gaming world was like, oh God, we haven't done much yet this year. Blah! Just everything.
Pretty much.
All at the same time.
All right. So I've only got a couple news stories. And our main topic of the week is basically news. I mean, it's a news story as well. So, but here we are. So GamesIndustry.Biz writes, Epic launches publishing label of Remedy, Playdead, and GenDesign Onboard. Epic Games Publishing aims to tip the balance of the publisher relationship in favor of the developers, offering terms that it believes will be more attractive than its rivals. I mean, it was already doing that, but this includes full creative ownership, with developers keeping 100% of the IP rights and total creative control. It will offer as much as 100% of the development costs, including employee salaries, and it will split profits 50-50 once its costs are recouped. We're building the publishing model we always wanted for ourselves when we worked with publishers, said Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney. The first 3 partners to sign up to Epic Games Publishing are The Last Guardian studio GenDesign, Inside developer Playdead, and Remedy Entertainment, the company behind Control, Alan Wake, and Max Payne. GenDesign, Remedy, and Playdead are among the most innovative and talented studios in the industry with strong visions for their next game, said Hector Sanchez, head of Epic Games Publishing. They will have full creative control, while Epic will provide a solid foundation of project funding and services. On the same day, it's also worth noting that Remedy, in amongst all this news, announced that they have upcoming 2 games. One is a smaller one is a bigger one. One's a new IP, one's not a new IP, I think is what they said. So, of course, a lot of people got all shitty because, as they do whenever publishing Epic is mentioned anywhere. However, I think it's very easy to see how all of these things could be super attractive. I think the 50-50 revenue split is very fucking high to what most people get. And also the fact that they're whatever you're creating, keep your IP. And I think that would be especially a lot attractive to someone like Remedy, who did Alan Wake, only just got the rights for that back last year from Microsoft. Yeah. Did Quantum Break, Microsoft still owns that. Did Max Payne, who Rockstar now owns, and they now have Control, which they actually own. But they only own 2 of the 4 of their IPs that they've created. At one stage, it looked like they was only ever going to have Control. So I feel like going in, they're like, this is great, you know. It'll be interesting to see if all of this helps speed up potentially Playdead's next game as well, because they seem to take forever between like Inside, Limbo, whatever else they're going for. But Ash, do you have any thoughts on this news? Because you just spent like an hour sitting there doing nothing.
I mean, this sounds good for like the smaller, obviously, teams that aren't attached to any big publishers. A good opportunity to have like a financially safe like deal. I mean, for them to be willing to pay for 100% of all costs going in, obviously with the not making any profit until you actually the coops are recouped, the costs are recouped. But yeah, that sounds like a good deal for everybody. And obviously, Epic is in a unique situation where they can offer this kind of deal because Fortnite is going to be raking in money till the end of time.
Yep. I don't think it'll ever stop. So yeah, Ciaran, do you have any thoughts on this?
It's interesting. I like, especially for me, because my head has always connected Remedy with Microsoft just randomly. So to have them be doing this with Epic, I think it's really good for Remedy. I think Remedy they're one of these devs that I see them kind of just need their own creative bubble to do whatever they want, because they do these strange and wonderful games. Like even going all the way back to the original Max Payne, where you were doing platforming sections following a blood trail in like a pitch black area. Like it was frustrating, but so random and weird that Remedy needs their own space to play in and create and craft. And even for Epic just to say, hey, we just want to recoup our costs and then 50-50, we're good. Like just, like that's really generous of Epic just to be in that for them and be so open to helping publish these games for developers.
So on Remedy's website, to add on a bit more, they said Remedy is working on 2 multi-platform games for next generation consoles and PC that will be published by Epic Games. The first project is Remedy's most ambitious one yet, an AAA multi-platform game already in pre-production. The second is a new, smaller scale project set in the same franchise. Both games are being developed on Remedy's proprietary state-of-the-art Northlight game engine and tools. So, I mean, we just talked about Control, so my biggest question for all of this is the next generation most ambitious yet AAA multi-platform game a sequel to Control? Because if it is, then they're saying the other game set in the same universe, so that means the smaller game is a smaller Control game. And then on top of all this, I'd also like to point out they say it's set in the same universe. As we talked about the other week, Control and Alan Wake are set in the same universe. So technically the smaller game could be an Alan Wake game, or the big game could be an Alan Wake game, and the smaller game could be a Control spin-off, and they would all technically be part of the same universe.
And I think Remedy's is striving to build this
Remedyverse.
This Remedyverse, especially with having a game that introduced this bureau. I think this bureau can span across a lot of different like kind of stories and games within this. They have kind of like this linking. It's almost like Shield in the MCU, where Shield can span across everything and link everything together and be a part of everything. That's what the Bureau can be for this Remedyverse. So I'm excited and interested to see what they do with it, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I feel like that they've opened a big can of worms, and they can pretty much do whatever they want at this stage. They can link in Quantum Break if they got the rights back. I think they can link in pretty much whatever they want, because they're like, hey, Control is like his bureau investigates these like supernatural objects of power or whatever else, and then they explain that the object of power from Alan Wake was the I can't remember. I can't remember exactly what it was from the game. I think they do say it's like the book or something like that. But anyway, Alan Wake's all events of Alan Wake, they basically explain as retconned. It was retconned to be a object of power event, right? So they could do other games that have none of the characters from Control, do horror games, supernatural games, action games like Quantum Break, and they could all be caused by some object of power or involve an object of power, and that's all linking them into the same universe and world. So I think that's super exciting. I think the fact that they're in pre-production means obviously it's quite some time away, but I would potentially say that would see the smaller ones first, maybe, like the other small scale project is set in the same franchise. They don't say if it's in pre or post production. Maybe they purposely don't say what stage it's in because they've already begun working on that one, if it's a smaller scale project or something like that. Of course, they're probably still working on the second expansion for Control anyway, but I'm just really excited for the future of Remedy, and I think the fact that they've got Epic now backing them, and they're not backed into a corner. That's the thing, That's something that's worth pointing out of all this sort of stuff. All these companies are working with Epic. They're not Epic exclusive per se, simply because they're working with them. As Remedy points out, these are all multi-platform, next generation games. Epic's working with us, and Epic's always
even with stuff like for the PC players, like it'll eventually come to Steam if with what's happened with like Borderlands 3 and everything, it'll eventually come.
Yeah, it's always like 6 months or whatever. And Tim Sweeney always says in interviews or whatever that he'll stop the exclusivity if Steam matches their percentage. Sure, he's like said it before. He's like, I'll stop doing it if they start like doing the same percentage share or whatever as us, whatever 70-30 or whatever the fuck they do, 60-40. I can't remember. All right, so I've only got here Six Axis writes Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered artwork allegedly data mined from update files. A new update was pushed out for Call of Duty Modern Warfare recently. They mean the remake, not
the remake,
the original.
No, that's
the reboot. Sorry, because you gotta classify it. There's a remake of it, and then there's a reboot. We're talking about the reboot, the recent Call of Duty that came out last year. And it appears data miners have found another confirmation of the existence of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered. At this point, you have to wonder if the developers are putting these clues out deliberately. Reddit user Mr. Earthbound fan posted the image below on Twitter, claiming they had data mined it from the recently updated files on Modern Warfare. And it's a picture of the thing and it says campaign. That is not the only image that can be found in the album below. There's a bunch of other screenshots as well. By themselves, these images could be considered fakes, but with all the other leaks that have been regarding the remaster, it seems likely these images will be used at some point in a Modern Warfare dashboard once the game is announced. Earlier this week, the South Korea rating board listed Modern Warfare 2 Remastered with approval sent for February 26. Last year, Peggy had a similar listing for the game. Amazon listed the game 2 years ago and later rumored that would be the campaign only, and that seems correct. So there have been a fair few rumors. My big question for this is if they're getting the files from the
Modern Warfare, why is it there? Like, why is Modern Warfare 2 files inside the current game?
Because they're gonna have like a link in the like home screen that you can buy Modern Warfare 2 Remastered in the store.
Okay, I can see that as
that's what I'm thinking. But I'm like let's for the sake of discussion, worst case scenario, how angry do people get if the only way you can play Modern Warfare 2's campaign, which, I mean, I haven't played it. We've discussed how I haven't played any of the original Modern Warfares, but I do know that's the one everyone loves the most, right? Modern Warfare 2's campaign. If they remake that, remaster it, whatever, and the only way you can get it is by buying and having to play it through Modern Warfare, the reboot one, people, I mean, half the people probably have the game, to be honest, but I think that would be a bit shit, considering the first one was solo.
I think it'd be a weird decision it'd be a really weird decision by Activision. Not to just get people to buy another game. Like, that's like asking for, like, that's crazy for me to even think that's a possibility, that they're not just going to release it as another physical game.
Ash, you look distressed.
No, I was thinking, I thought you said it was all going to be launched out of the same launcher.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, imagine a world where the only way you could get it is if you have Modern Warfare, and you can't buy it separately.
You have to load up
so
Modern
it would
Warfare.
be paid DLC within Modern Warfare, but then they just released Warzone, so which is pretty much you download the whole entire game anyway. So
yeah,
potentially you could just buy the DLC through Warzone and then play the campaign.
No, I don't think they'd let you do it. I don't think they'd let you do that.
Why not?
I don't believe that.
What difference does it make if they get $40 here or they get $40 there?
But it's either you get $40 here, or you have to. Somebody buys the game and they get $40.
So they buy a $20 used copy, and then play for
still $20. Still money. I wouldn't see them letting you buy something through Warzone. I don't see them doing that at all.
The other thing
they let you buy the game through Warzone.
Yeah. The other thing with Warzone is that it's free to play, but they literally have a battle pass for it, and all these other ways to make money and all this sort of stuff. I don't think I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here, but I would expect, if this is real, and I would say it is because there have been so many leaks at this point, and rumors and whatever else. It's one of those things where it's just an unsaid thing that's kind of happening, and it would make sense given that they already remastered the first game and whatever else. So it's like they're doing this weird thing at the moment where they're just rebooting Call of Duty and then remastering it at the same time. Because the other rumor is that Black Ops is getting rebooted, and that's going to be 2020's Call of Duty. They're like, last year Modern Warfare, this year Black Ops, fuck it, let's just reboot everything.
Yeah.
And then that means you're just going to have all the last couple of years will just be like Call of Duty reboots and remakes, and that is the the concept of Call of Duty going forward. And everyone will be like, cool, this is what we want, just give us the same shit. And then when you've done doing all that, let's do it again. Remake and reboot this shit.
We don't want to count past 5.
No. Especially when you do Roman numerals wrong.
Yes.
Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Or whatever the fuck they did.
4 L's.
Yeah,
it was
4
full.
L's.
It was just full. Yeah.
Dot lines or whatever. Yeah, yeah. They're like, no, we can't do a 1 and a V because that's
No, because they
Skyrim
remember
does
they remember from when I worked in a game store for a small portion of time at the same time of Grand Theft Auto 4 being out. People that shouldn't have been buying the game coming up and be like, hey, can I have GTA IV?
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, they used to ask, like, there was heaps of people that would be like, GTA IV?
Did they
Can
go
I
to
have
school?
IV? Well, probably. It's just the schools were doing a poor job.
Did you tell them you
you'd
don't
be like,
sell
no,
IVs? You'd go to hospital?
I'd be like, no, we don't have that. We have GTA 4 if you'd like GTA 4, but you're too young.
How is it not? It's easier to say GTA 4 than it is GTA IV.
IV, I know, Dylan, but they see it. They just don't comprehend Roman numerals, and they're like, "Oh, it's IV."
Man, these people need to play God.
I blame Pixar. They should have named it Toy Story IV. You know,
I don't think that was out at the point of GTA IV, but that's fine. But
It's fine.
that's how I'm referring to the game.
It's not showing kids the Land Before Time movies. You know, they've got a bunch of like Roman numerals in them.
What you're saying is they should have also made the Romans before time.
Wow.
And taught Roman numerals through that.
Wow.
See.
Good job. Yeah. All right, so this past week, Nintendo did a direct. I mean, it was as direct as a direct could get because they were literally like, "Hey,
they got straight to the point.
Here, it's up. Here, go watch it." They weren't like they didn't tweet out and say Nintendo Direct happening in a couple days. You know, like here's a date, here's a time, everyone tune in. They just randomly dropped a direct. So before we even get into the news, I just want to say, what the fuck's up with that? Does anyone have any explanations of why?
It's the equivalent of a stressed out person that's, a stressed out mum that's their kids have spent all day asking for food, and Nintendo's just, okay, there it is, just leave me alone, just let me have my pennies of peace. And then they run away and they just, Nintendo's like, you got what you wanted, you got your direct, leave me alone.
It's really weird because although I saw people were quite happy with the news that was announced in this, like overall the reaction was some good shit in here, this is great. But what they missed out on is usually if Nintendo gives the heads up, people will stay up, they will get up early, they will take their lunch early, they will watch this shit, and people will be live tweeting along as they're like watching it and be like, oh my god. So they kind of missed out on a lot of free promotion by general Twitter because they didn't have that. So I'm like, I just want to know what happened because I feel like there has to be something behind the scenes where they're like, no, can't we, coronavirus? Fuck it, just do it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. They didn't need to have that build up because everybody's so focused on this coronavirus thing. Any bit of good news just goes straight to the top of the Twitter feed.
They're like, will anyone care about these games? All Twitter cares about is Animal Crossing at the moment. So
yeah,
exactly.
It's the two thing. Animal Crossing?
I should have put the direct in Animal Crossing and people would have seen. Sure.
Oh my god, that would have been amazing. That would have been really smart to do.
Buy a TV, Tom looks like. You can watch the Nintendo Direct for 1,000 bells. Let's get it. So Press Start wrote up all the stuff here, collected it all. New games coming to the Nintendo Switch in 2020. So they showed a trailer for Xenoblade, Jesus Christ. Xenoblade. Fucking hell. What is going on? Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Jesus. Xenoblade. Chronicles Definitive Edition. The original Xenoblade Chronicles game, which marked the debut of fan favorite character Shulk, is coming to Nintendo Switch for new epilogue story Xenoblade Chronicles Future Connected. That's some fucking Kingdom Hearts shit. The definitive edition of the RPG also looks better and plays smoother than ever before. The battle HUD and menu screens are easy to read and easy to use. Some of the music tracks have been remastered or remixed. Experience the majesticness. Majestically.
Majesty.
Why is it majesty? I don't get it. Experience the majesty of Xenoblade Chronicles? Does that make sense? That's what they've written here. Does that make sense? Does it actually make sense?
Experience the majesty of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition when it launches for Nintendo Switch on 29th of May.
I don't think that makes sense. What's that mean? Majesty.
Majesty. Majesty. It's like all royal and shit. It's like,
I don't get it. Like, why is it royal?
Let me.
They're just trying to make it sound fancy.
They're just trying to.
This shit ain't Persona, man.
What? Oh my god.
You can't do this. Experience.
I don't know. Maybe there's royalty in the game. I've never played Xenoblade
the majesty of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Why is it majesty?
Or a royal bearing or aspect, greatness or splendor of quality or character.
I guess that's the second meaning. I don't know. I honestly have never heard someone say experience the majesty of something as a like description. Yes. No. Maybe where you're from, tippity top bomb, the fucking experience the majesty of my cup of tea.
That went from like, I think maybe English to like Irish extremely quickly.
Oh, laddie. You want to experience the majesty of this fucking thing?
That was Scottish then? Okay.
Get you down with your Arnott's biscuits.
Nah, you just fucking ain't. You just fucking got to experience the fucking majesty of it, eh?
Right. Experience the majesty of it, eh?
The majesty Australia. Ashley is just not amused by fucking any of this shit. He's like,
anyway, we all learned something today. Majesty, Xenoblade Chronicles. I might play this. I say might only because I know it's like 100 hours or whatever, even though I just did Persona, but, you know, time plays, whatever else. I was always interested when it originally came out. Never played it because it didn't have trophies. And then the second one I never played because it was on Wii U. Don't care about that shit either. But I've always been generally interested in the franchise, so maybe this is my time, you know. And obviously the Switch is a much better console than the previous ones it was on, so that's exciting. Yep. And in general, if you look at like comparisons or whatever else, I do think it does look like you can tell it's a good remake, remaster, whatever, of the game. Like it looks substantially better than the original one, I think. Then they had Bravely Default 2. In this follow-up to the original Bravely Default, new 4 heroes of light embark on a grand and glorious mission guided by the elemental crystals. Like the first game, Bravely Default 2 features a battle system that emphasizes strategy, with players deciding when to attack, brave, or hold back and wait for the right moment to strike. Default, with beautiful places to explore and new jobs to acquire, some of which can be even combined. Bravely Default 2, or also known as Bravely Default I, is another epic RPG in the Nintendo Switch library. A free demo is available today. I'm keen for this because I really liked Bravely Default. That was on the 3DS? Was it DS? Fuck, I don't remember.
3DS.
Yeah, 3DS, right. Yeah. That's same people made, it was the main reason I was excited for Octopath Traveler. Other than it looked generally cool, but because it was from the same developer, and I really liked Bravely Default. Also, the other thing that's really confusing with this game is that they made Bravely Default, and then they made
Bravely Second.
Bravely Second. That was the sequel, and now this is technically the third one, and they're calling it Bravely Default 2. So Bravely Default, Bravely Second, Bravely Default 2. It's really confusing. It's typical JRPG nonsense, really, when you boil down to it. I didn't like Bravely Second as much as Bravely Defaults because the world and the systems weren't exactly right. I don't know. It felt a little bit off. So I'm hoping that Bravely Default 2 is more like what I enjoyed about Bravely Default, because I really enjoy the Brave / default system, because it basically lets you be like, it basically lets you bank an attack and like defend potentially, and then you can like do an all-out double attack the next turn. So like the strategy comes in there, like when to do I just attack now? Do I hold it for next turn? Will the enemy be weaker next turn? Will their defenses be down and whatever else? So, and it's your typical JRPG, old school, you know, turn-based combat. Yeah. So, and it was like one of, even when the first Bravely Default came out, it was still one of the only like proper old school, quite proper JRPGs releasing at the time. So that was cool. Bioshock Collection, Borderlands Collection, and XCOM's Collection coming. Many games from publisher 2K are coming to Nintendo Switch on 29th of May, including sci-fi classic XCOM's 2 Collection, which contains XCOM 2 4 DLC packs and the War of Chosen expansion, as well as Borderlands Legendary Collection, which contains the original Borderlands, its sequel Borderlands 2, and its pre-sequel Borderlands the pre-sequel. 2K is also bringing its acclaimed Bioshock series to Nintendo Switch, the Bioshock Remastered, Bioshock 2 Remastered, and Bioshock Infinite, the Complete Edition, as well as Bioshock the Collection, which includes all 3 Bioshock games in one package. So that's a whole bunch of 2K games. Anyone, I mean, it's cool for people who haven't played them, I guess, but I'm like, okay.
I think XCOM would be really cool on
that's
Switch.
probably the best.
If it works?
If it works, yeah, XCOM. I think what's interesting, I saw a snippet of, for each of these, that the full game isn't on the physical cartridge.
No, they're like 11 gigabytes on the thing.
So
or whatever.
even if you buy physically, you still need to have an internet connection to download the rest of the game.
Yep.
Like it's.
That's how a lot of these third-party Switch games just are. A lot of the bigger ones, you know, like all these big ones they're bringing over from your quote-unquote main consoles or whatever, your Dooms, Wolfensteins or whatever, all this stuff, it's all the same. They're like, these games are massive, and we've managed to develop them and bring them over to a Switch, but this fucking cartridge, man, it cannot do what we want it to do. It's so you need the internet, you need to download this game. I guess the only reason really to buy physically in that stage over digitally is because you're like, well, what if I want to sell it or trade it in afterwards or whatever else? But other than that, you
also there seems
download
to,
like 40 gigabytes.
Also, there seems to just be problems with digital stuff on Nintendo, with things like Animal Crossing all being local based and everything. So, like, if you were to just like
that's a
your
choice,
memory card break, but that's fair. But it's interesting.
Yeah. Out of that, XCOM's the only one that I have any slim chance of wanting to try it on my Switch, because I never played XCOM 2, and obviously... Oh, wait. Was that one? Which one? No, it was probably XCOM 1. I played one of them on Vita when they brought it over. I don't remember if that was 2.
XCOM.
Was that 2?
It'll be XCOM.
It was the original.
It was the original one? Yeah, so I played that for a decent amount of hours. I never finished it, though, but I enjoyed it. So XCOM 2. But the rest of the stuff, Borderlands, all this other stuff, you know it's going to run at like 480p, fucking if that, and whatever
Borderlands
else.
might look okay.
I mean,
Borderlands I don't think will be too bad.
Yeah, Borderlands and XCOM, I feel like you could get away with it being not graphically intensive. Yeah.
Bioshock, there's a lot of,
Bioshock is like all the
stuff.
games are like 10 years old at this point, though. So.
That's true. I think it comes down to the development, because I think that's something that I think with Witcher it proved to me that, because I was honestly so surprised of how well Witcher played in handheld when I played it at PAX. I was expecting, like everyone else, to have that thing run like shit. And of course it didn't look as good, but that was a given, and what the fuck do you expect? But I was honestly really impressed with the fact that it seemed to be running at like a solid 30 in handheld. And I thought that was quite good. So I think it just comes down to the people that are doing these ports and whatever else. So 51 worldwide games, 4 in a row: Mancala, Slot Car, Sliding Puzzle, Texas Hold'em, whole bunch of fucking whatever games. I don't know. These Texas Hold'em, I love the idea of just bringing that out at a party. You know, hey guys, do you want to play Mario Party? Fucking Super. No, fuck that. Let's set the Switch in the middle of the table and play fucking board games on this. I mean, I guess it's all right.
You got to remember, like, these rooftop parties have been playing Mario Kart for a couple of years
now.
now.
They're over it.
And Mario Party, they're a bit over it. They need something to shake it up a little bit.
And yeah, now they've got all these board games that they can play. It's cool. Like, it's just not for me. It's not something that I would personally do. I've never really understood playing board games in general on devices, I guess. Like, I'm like, can we just not play the real one at this stage? But whatever works.
Well, you can't because self-isolation. So, I mean, it would be great.
You tell me these have
this
online?
game-
Because I'll be highly fucking surprised.
Yeah, they said some have online.
Some
Not all
have
of them.
online.
Some.
Fucking-
Like, I'm sure things like chess and poker and that kind of stuff will be online.
You probably play chess online for free without getting a Switch if you want to play
But not
with
on your
a friend or
Well,
something.
why wouldn't you play it on your Switch?
Why wouldn't you play it on your Switch? Why wouldn't you play it on your Switch? Next thing they announced was Burnout Paradise Remastered. 10 years later, the classic high-octane racer is back with its remastered version featuring breakneck racing, high-flying stunts, and most importantly, shameless amounts of automotive destruction. It's coming to Switch 2020. I think that's cool. It's apparently...
This game's almost as bad as Skyrim for re-releases and remasters. My fucking god!
I mean, people... It hasn't
It's only
it's
been
only
released once.
It's only got remastered once, I think, right?
But then there was also like multiple. Wasn't there like?
Oh, back in
didn't
the
they,
day,
after
in the original release, they were like, here's the original release, here's the DLC, here's the bikes release, here's the Ultimate Edition release, here's like they did heaps of releases, but they haven't done heaps of remakes or remasters or ports. They did several Ultimate Edition releases on PS3 and Xbox and whatever at the time. Yeah, but this is they've only done the one remaster. What was that, like 2 years ago now when they originally came out?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and so now they're bringing it over here. That's cool. It's really great game. Once again, I would expect it to kind of run like crap on in handheld potentially and run a lot better in docked mode. So we'll have to wait to see what people say when they play it. But also, you really don't want Burnout to be running at like 20 frames a second and just speeding along and you fucking accidentally hit a wall or whatever else. So
even stuff like hopefully like I can't even remember from the remaster, but the music must have survived. I think the music has.
I think so. I think maybe they changed some tracks in the original, the one that came out a couple of years ago, potentially something like that. But it's probably the same now. The first EA game or Burnout or something like that. I think I saw someone on Twitter say the other day. Burnout game or something that's come to Switch for like 10 years or some shit. Nintendo for like 10 years or something. Yeah. Then they had Fuser take on the role of DJ in his upcoming rhythm game from Harmonix, the creators of Rock Band. Fuser launches this autumn on Switch. This game's also coming to PC and whatever else. I've watched gameplay of it before. I've always been really interested in it. I just don't fully understand it unless I get my hands on with it. Because it's basically, you play as a DJ and you got to keep the crowd pleased. And because they're Harmonix and they've got the money, they've played out for like a lot of really well-known, exciting artists and whatever else. Like it's not like all these sort of indie other games where they're getting people off SoundCloud. What, like the music's cool, but it's not your well-known stuff. So this Fuser will have that. But you basically are like mixing. So you'll pick a song and you pick another song and the game on the go like sort of mixes it and you got to play to the audience. But it's not like a Guitar Hero or anything where you're literally like trying to hit notes to the thing. It's literally about picking songs and playing the correct ones for the audience or something like that. It seems like it could be really fun and I guess sort of relaxing if you can listen to like sort of uppy party music to relax potentially while playing it. I've been intrigued, but no matter how much I watch, I'm still just like, I don't really get it. I really just need to play it myself and then fully understand it, but I've been struggling, yeah. Then they got King's Bounty. Since 1990, the King's Bounty series has been influencing the evolution of Western RPGs. In its new sequel, the series is back with a fresh look and a new approach. In King's Bounty 2, the graphics are more realistic. In game choice matters more than ever, and a new character development system informs the ethics and affinities of new characters. King's Bounty 2 comes to Switch in 2020. I can tell you what, I've never heard of King's Bounty before. Just me? No? They're like, it's been influencing RPGs forever. I'm like, has it though? Has it though? So this is coming to PC and everything else as well. They just basically announced it's coming to Switchies here. It's not really something I would play on Switch, and it's if anything, I play it on anything other than Switch. I feel, but that's cool. It's coming, I guess. Then they had Ninjala. In this free-to-play up to 8 players game, must battle it out to earn points and claim victory. As ninjas, players can sprint across stages, disguise themselves, and wield an arsenal of skills like heavy-hitting hammers, fast and flashy katanas, and tricked-out yo-yos. Cement your supremacy in free-for-all battles, or work together in 4-on-4 team matches. Ninjala sneaks on Nintendo Switch the 27th of May.
Isn't that just... Did you just describe Bleeding Edge?
I mean, it's honest. I mean, honestly, it kind of, yeah, sort of. Except for it's basically like, I guess the characters are sort of
super anime,
Splatoon, like I don't know, like
yeah,
sort of thing. And they can fly around and whatever else a bit more. I mean, it's free to play. Maybe I'll give it a go. But like watching the trailer, I mean, the same could be said for Bleeding Edge. I watched the trailer. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I don't know if this will be good or not. And then I play it. And I'm like, this is fun. I feel the same watching this, where it's just a bunch of people fucking doing attacks and whatever else. I'm like, is this good? Is this not? Is this crap? I honestly have no idea. So I'll give it a go. Probably. I'll give it a go. It's free. Come on. How can I say no? Catherine Full Body Unique Puzzle Adventure is coming to Nintendo Switch as Catherine Full Body, a remake of the original game. Climb a tower of puzzle blocks and dive into a mature, intense, and intoxicating story when Catherine Full Body launches Nintendo Switch the 7th of July. I tried playing Catherine back on PS3 back in the day. I'm not a fan of the game for several reasons. I think the puzzle gameplay was too hard and I didn't really enjoy it, and I didn't find it super enjoyable. And then I also thought the story was not that interesting because the dude you play as, what the fuck is his name? Fuck, I can't even remember now. Whatever his fucking name is. He's terrible. I don't like him. He's a terrible character and I wasn't interested in his story. Like, his whole dilemma is, I got 2 hot girls. Which one do I pick from? And he's a fucking dick and he's an asshole. And then you have to play these levels. I'm like, I don't like you. I don't really particularly like any of the characters in this game. And the puzzles are just hard and they're annoying me. And I didn't like the game. So that's my feelings on Catherine. Has anyone else ever tried it or care to try Catherine?
No.
Never
tried it.
That was a resounding no from everyone. You sure, Ash? It's from Atlas, you know, the same people who made Persona. Get your weeb on. Gotta get your weeb on. You know, you gotta, date the girls or whatever. No, okay.
You gotta accidentally have a girl fall in your lap and you get into a relationship with her.
I mean, he runs around these boxes and gets chased by killer monsters, and then he wakes up and he's like, oh no, Catherine with a K or Catherine with a C, my life sucks. Shut up. Hate you. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Pod Racer. Strap into a Pod Racer and go to first place in Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer. Launching soon from Nintendo Switch. I'll be getting this.
Can I say, that deserves more than a single line.
It does. Like,
that's just like an afterthought. I think Nintendo hates Star Wars, judging from this direct.
Well, no, they've been bringing over all these Star Wars things. I'm grabbing this for sure. Although, I presume...
Do you think it has online multiplayer? That will be the key.
No, I don't think so. But it's not just coming to Switch. I'll probably end up getting on something else. But nonetheless,
that's true.
I will be getting it anyway because I remember playing this back in the day and it's heaps of fun. And I'm willing to play it and go, wow, this isn't as fun as I remembered it in my brain hole. Now that I'm playing it again, or maybe I will still just really enjoy it. So I found a bigger thing here because that description was shithouse. 2 engines, 1 champion, no limits. Climb on, strap in, and experience the pure adrenaline pumping excitement of the pod racing sequence from Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace. Take the controls as Anakin Skywalker or any of 21 pod racers and feel the full force blast of 2 massive jet engines at simulated speeds up to 600 miles per hour, reign in a turbine-driven chariot through 8 spectacular worlds, negotiate through flaming methane lakes, Tusken Raider assaults, ant-gravity tunnels, and much more pulse-pounding, do or die, fight to the finish, where anyone will do anything to cross the finish line. How far will you go? That's a description. How good is that? The dot points here as well. Relive all the thrill and excitement of Pod Racer's sequence from Star Wars Episode 1. Hang tight with afterburners on. Pod Racers max out at a simulated 600 miles per hour. Race in furious competition against 21 plus opponents. Take on over 21 tracks in 8 unique worlds. Avoid hazards such as methane lakes, meteor showers, and Tuscan Raiders. Spectacular 3D environments. Vehicle sound effects and epic soundtrack directly taken from Episode 1. Fuck yes. Get high. So, I mean, that's the description. If that's the description for the original release, imagine how good this one is. This is a re-jiggy dude. Well, not like a hardcore re-jiggy, but it's a re-jiggy.
It's a port.
It's a port. It'll be so much better. So next thing they chucked down some major DLC coming. So Super Smash Bros. Is getting an arms fighter, which is funny. I mean, none of us play Smash.
What's the point of arms? What's the point of arms if you're going to put the arms fighter in Smash?
I don't know. Get the characters. This is the first of the new Battle Pass, or whatever the fuck they call it. Fighter Pass, sorry.
Oh, boy.
Go hard. Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Also, full trial for arms if you've got Nintendo Online.
Full game trial.
So you can fully test arms.
For trial? So you only have a small period of time with it?
I don't know, probably like a few hours or something like that.
Oh.
Man, I'm so not doing that. I'm sorry to let everyone down, but I've never been interested in arms. Usually, I watched gameplay once. It's just like you run around and you go, pew, pew, pew. I know some people that really got into it and they're like, there's such hardcore technique to this, man. You get into it. I'm like, no, sorry. Animal Crossing New Horizons DLC. Now that Animal Crossing New Horizons has launched for Nintendo Switch, the first season event is on its way between 1st of April and 12th of April. Residents of the island can participate in Bunny Day to find eggs hidden by bunny visitor Zipper and craft special items with them. The next free update is the game hits April, which adds the Earth Day event. I'm not talking about Animal Crossing because I only played an hour. I started it this morning as of recording and I played it for an hour. Don't need to talk about it yet because I don't feel like I've played enough. But now that I finally started it, I'm glad I can look forward to events like Bunny Day. Get some fucking eggs happening, man. Got to get some Easter happening. We can't go outside and celebrate Easter together. Hunt for eggs in Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing's basically saving the world. People are doing weddings in the game and shit. So I'm seeing some
birthday parties
in it.
everything.
Animal Crossing has literally come out it's like they planned. I mean, I don't want to say they did, but
I mean, don't want to go into any conspiracy theories, but awfully convenient.
They're awfully convenient, yeah. Pokemon Sword expansion pass and Pokemon Shield expansion pass. With the Pokemon Sword expansion pass, Pokemon Shield expansion pass, the sprawling island in the sea of the Isle of Armor and frozen snowscape land known as the Crown Tundra will be available in the Galar region. On the Isle of Armor, trainers can gather at the new dojo for Pokemon battles to master their skills. By training at this dojo, players will receive legendary Pokemon Kufu from the master Mustard.
Is it really a legendary Pokemon if everybody gets it?
Look, you're literally pointing out the problem with old Pokemon games. not to spoil, but that's oh man, I beat Mewtwo back in the original. Everyone at school, yeah, me too.
No, well that's different because everybody you actually have to catch that Pokemon, whereas everybody who comes to this dojo seems to get handed.
Yeah, there's just one for everyone. No more than one though. One Kufu for everyone. All right.
They just have a breed. They just breed them. It's the main economic stabilizer for the region.
Also, I'd like to point out the fact again, the master Mustard. That's my favorite part. The master's name is Mustard. Through training with Kufu, trainers will receive permission to challenge the two towers of two fists on the Isle of Armor. Once one of the two towers has been conquered, Kufu will evolve into Urshifu. Urshifu? Sure. In addition to two new outfits, items, and hairstyles, the expansion pass also adds new league card backgrounds, effects, and frames, blah, 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 blah. So I like the look of this Pokemon. Looks pretty fucking badass, training, punching shit out. I'm keen to get my hand on one and be the only person in the world who has one, and then evolve it into this badass looking fucking, I don't know how to describe this thing. Anyway, go watch the trailer yourself. I honestly don't know how to describe what it looks like. I don't know.
It's a fighting bear.
Fighting bear? I mean, yeah. But when it
Karate
evolves,
bear.
it looks more like a panther or some shit, I feel. I don't know. Anyway, I like it. Couple other things to go over quickly here to wrap this up, though. Good Job is out now. They just released it. It's this fucking game where you sit on a chair and you fuck up office spaces. That's, I guess, the description, right? They're like, hey, you got to do these things in the office, and then you do them all horror. It looks fun. Ring Fit Adventure got an update. I'm going to try this one out. Hopefully this week, I reckon. So basically, Nintendo was like, Beat Saber's popular. Hey, how about we add for Ring Fit Adventure as the update? It says here, free updates coming to Ring Fit Adventure. The update adds a new rhythm game mode, an option to switch to a female voice and change the language of the in-game voice, and more. In rhythm game mode, move to the beat of a dozen tracks from Ring Fit Adventure and a few tracks from the popular Nintendo games, including Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It is literally a thing where you stand there and you hold the ring fit circle thing, whatever the fuck it's called, and then you just have to move it into certain things holes as they come in front of you, and like match the shapes or whatever else. And it's a beat dancing thing or whatever. It's 100%, as far as I'm concerned, them being like, Beat Saber's popular. Let's get in on that.
No, I think it's rhythm games are popular.
I guess
rhythm games.
Yeah, that's true. Either way,
I like that a female voice is like a
great thing. They're like, yeah,
like how many people were turned off because there was no female voice in the game?
Maybe people can only work out if there's a female voice, you know? That's the reason I haven't played it much anymore, because I'm like, this fucking male voice, man. I can't handle this shit. Oh, what did you just say? Do 10 what? Get the hell out of here. Give me a female voice.
Too much testosterone.
Too much testosterone. I can't handle it. Getting some soothing female or something. But I'm keen to try out this Ring Fit Adventure thing. I think it's cool, and obviously it's free, so that's also quite cool. If they've added this version free, then I could see them potentially adding more songs for money, but that would be cool. Add some fucking hardcore remixes in Nintendo music. That'd be really cool. Shinseki.
Put that Doom soundtrack in.
Yeah, fuck yes. Shinseki. Is this how you say it? Into Depths. Shinsekai. Really? Okay, sure. In this deep sea exploration game, players collect resources to upgrade their gear, craft items, and dive deeper into the abyss. As they explore increasingly mysterious environments, players have to monitor their oxygen and pressure levels to survive. I didn't like the look of this, so nope. Panzer Dragon. What?
We won't talk about it then if you didn't like it.
You like it?
No, don't.
Actually, like it?
It's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Looks like a Metroidvania.
I've been doing this podcast long enough that if I go, I didn't like it, and I leave like a gap there, if you know, it's like there's like a beat, and then I look at you, and I can go, they don't care either, and then I move on with the podcast. That's how I keep the rhythm going. Panzer Dragoon Remake. They announced this ages ago. Anyway, it's finally out today. I'm sure there's some hardcore Panzer Dragoon fans out there, but for me personally, I feel about this the same way I felt about it when they originally showed it off, which is cool. If it was free, maybe I'll try it out, but otherwise, no, I don't really play. I mean, Star Fox fans, maybe you ain't got a Star Fox game to play, so maybe you can dive into this and get some sort of Star Foxy sort of gameplay happening.
An on-rails shooter.
Flight
shooter.
Yeah, like a
way to make Star Fox fans feel alienated, right?
Well, there's no.
You don't have a game.
I mean, to be fair, Star Fox fans are like grasping at straws.
They are, exactly. So now you got Panzer Dragoon. Yeah. And then you got Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. Enter Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy to learn the ways of the Force. Players can customize their Jedi looks and battle online with up to 16 players when Jedi Knight Jedi Academy launches on Nintendo Switch today.
I didn't realize there was a deathmatch mode in it.
Yeah, it's hardcore, man.
Yeah, it's so good. It's like easily, like, I think it's like the best feeling Force powers, apart from Control. It's like the best Star Wars feeling Jedi game there is.
Well, I never played this one.
You didn't? No. Jedi Academy's awesome. It's really fun. It's a lot of fun.
It may be, but I pretty much feel the same about that as I do. What was the one they brought out like months and months ago? Jedi. What was
Fallen
it?
Order?
Just Jedi Order Academy? No, the remake.
Oh.
Jedi Academy
Jedi Knight
or whatever.
Outcasts.
Oh, fuck, I don't even know. Either way, I hadn't played that before, and I didn't care to go play it either. And I haven't played this, and I don't care to play it. The only reason I care about the pod racing one is because
Because this is pod racing.
Because this is pod racing.
This is
Pod
pod
racing
racing.
is the best. I've played it before, so I want to play it again. And B, I could play it for like 2 hours, have my fun with it, and be like, cool. I've played it. I've had fun. Because it's just a racer thing. Whereas all these other ones, time anyway. Oh, I've got to play all the old Star Wars games to be a true Star Wars fan. Get the fuck out of here. No, I don't. Shut up. Don't want to hear your questions. They'll do it. So that's the Nintendo Direct. Overall, I would give it a solid A. I thought that was a good Direct. I think they once again killed the mood a little bit by not having any build up or whatever to it. But I think the fact that they literally announced a new Smash Brothers DLC character in a Direct and there wasn't a big reveal, like build up to that, is kind of weird, because that's like new Smash Bros characters are pretty much the top of the mountain of Nintendo Directs, with build up and whatever else. So I thought that was quite crazy. Xenoblade Chronicles Remaster, remake things, one of their bigger games coming out this year and all this other sort of stuff. Pokemon, they had massive shit in it. It's just when you're, I don't know, it's weird. How do you feel about it, Ash, overall? All that stuff. Good? No? Not
I mean, it's fine.
Nothing that blown you away?
There was no flagship thing. I guess the closest thing was Xenoblade Chronicles, but yeah. I mean, it was fine. It served the purpose of sating the diehard Nintendo fans who've been annoying everyone with their need for a Direct.
Yeah. Ciaran?
I think it was they were just kind of capitalizing on what they had available to communicate with fans during this time. I think it was nothing, there was nothing on this that we didn't know about. It was just a good update to be like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what
I didn't know about pod racing.
Okay, sure.
Or ARMS. ARMS.
What about ARMS?
Guy, whatever they call. What do you call the ARMS character? What's it up here in Smash?
Well,
ARMS?
we don't know. We don't know
different
which ARMS character it's going to be. There's different characters.
I suppose it'll be both.
One of them's an assist trophy, so it's not going to be them.
Oh shit! They fuck themselves. Why they would fuck themselves like that is beyond me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
Borderlands is coming to Switch. Shout out to Pitchy, mate. Love you. Anyway, that'll do it for this week's episode of Arcade Couch. This week's question of the show is, do you want Control 2 next from Remedy, or would you prefer them to be doing something else? Maybe Alan Wake 2? Let us know. You can let us know either by heading to Twitter. ExplosionNetwork.com/Twitter will take you to a thing that shows you all our Twitters. You can follow them all very easily. You can also let us know by emailing mail@explosionnetwork.com with the subject line Arcade Couch. Ash, fucking say it. Say whatever. You little edge of his mouth is like. I'm thinking. Well, I got a funny joke. He's one of those people that literally, if he thinks something funny, he can't keep it in. He's laughing in his own fucking brain. What, you can't say it?
I hope our listeners enjoyed experiencing the majesty of this episode.
Okay.
Damn it! I was going to say a Majesty pun. Fuck.
See you here next week, same time, same couch. Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at explosionnetwork.com, and please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.